Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you and all the people who are listening us right now.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, for all the participants, welcome to the webinar on essentials of culture, business life, and social life in Montenegro. As ILIDA, International Law and Investment Association, we are very proud of hosting His Excellency Ambassador Periša Kastratović with us today. It is a very good opportunity indeed for all the members and both international and Turkish business community to enlighten about Montenegro from the highest authority in Turkey. That is our pleasure. First of all, I would like to confess that Montenegro is among my favorite location in Europe, as we talked with the ambassador before. And today he will share with us his experiences, recommendations, and all related information about his wonderful country. Okay, let's start from the beginning. First of all, welcome to our webinar. It is our honor to host you. It is a great opportunity for the participants to listen the facts of the country from the most competent authority in Turkey. And Ambassador, could you briefly introduce us your country, wonderful country, Montenegro, please?
First of all, I want to thank you for this great opportunity to you and to your team. It's really my pleasure to be today with you. First, I would like to say that Montenegro is the small country in Europe. We are only 800,000 kilometers squares. And we have around 620,000 inhabitants. But Montenegro is as well one of the youngest country in Europe due to the fact that we restored our independence only 14 years ago. Actually, we celebrated that on the 21st of May. Although it's one of the youngest, it's as well one of the oldest country in Europe, because the first explicit recognition of the independence of Montenegro was on the Congress of Berlin in 1878, when Montenegro became one of the 26 countries in the world. Then after the First World War, we lost our independence, and we used to live in different forms of the federal states, first in the kingdom, then in the Federal Socialist Republic of Yugoslavia for almost 88 years. And then we came back on the map of the Europe and on the world after the referendum, when our citizens decided that Montenegro once again should be an independent state on 21st of May on 2006. Since then, Montenegro is trying to and developing. We managed to achieve a lot. I can say that we managed to join the NATO. We are now the member of NATO from 2017, and we are probably next country who will join, the first next country who will join the European Union. What would else I like to say about Montenegro? It's the country which is very diverse, not only from the point of view of the natural beauties that we possess and we are recognized by, but as well by the structure of its inhabitants. Montenegro is the multicultural country. Montenegro is the multinational country, and we are very proud about that. Actually, we are the only country of ex-Yugoslavia which fortunately didn't experience any war experiences in its own territory.
That is great. Yes, that is really great to listen from the historical point of view, and with the cultural diversity and the natural beauty. As I told before, it is among the favorite destination of mine in Europe. So, as you know, we are passing from very extreme historical period with COVID-19 pandemic. How Montenegro affected by this COVID-19? Could you briefly explain us, please?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, I must say that I'm very glad that even the Turkey, where we are now talking, it's managing to cope very well with this very challenging, how to say, invisible enemy as it virus is. Montenegro was the last country to register in Europe to register the first case of COVID-19, but that was as well the first country in Europe which didn't have any cases of COVID for consecutive 28 days. So on the 2nd of June, Montenegro declared the end of the epidemic in Montenegro. Pandemic, it's still going on. Unfortunately, 3 days ago, we registered 2 new cases which are imported from Bosnia and Herzegovina, our citizens who traveled there and came back. But fortunately, everything is under control because these 2 citizens immediately have been put into the self-isolation. So I can say that we are very proud about our health system, because totally we have 326 cases, unfortunately 9 deaths, but anyhow it's a very small number comparison to the other countries. And really in this case our health system demonstrated its absolutely only the strength, as well all the other actors which have been involved in these difficult times to help to win this battle against the virus, at least the first half time.
That is, yes, it is a very difficult period for all the countries in the world, and in fact we are appreciating all our medical staff in country in Turkey, and indeed the Ministry of Health is doing a very good job here as well. And we are happy to hear that Montenegro is also doing very well with the COVID-19, and we wish healthy and happy futures for both Montenegro and Turkey and all over the world. Let's continue with the intention to the Montenegro, to the Turkish community. I mean, recently we have been observing that there are many international and Turkish attention to the Montenegro for both visiting to the country and doing business over there. So what is attractive for this international community doing business in Montenegro? I mean, could you briefly explain us advantages, disadvantages, and opportunities, please?
First of all, I must say that with the Republic of Turkey, Montenegro has a very long history of a very good political relation. I must say that even during the history, in the period when there was a kingdom of Montenegro and there was the Ottoman Empire, yes, we fought each other, but it was always with the mutual respect. And since we regained our independence in 2006, with the Republic of Turkey, we are enhancing our relations. We have excellent political relations. We are now trying to actually boost our economic cooperation, which is doing quite well. I can say that in 2019, the trade volume between 2 countries was 150 million euros, which means that our trade volume increased for 50% in respect of 2018. There is very big interest in Montenegro, not only from the part of the Turkish citizens and the Turkish business community, because I can just give you the data that Montenegro was one of, first of all, one of the highest growing touristic destinations in Europe for several years already, and there was Montenegro had biggest inflow of direct investments from more than 120 countries. Actually, for since independence, almost 9 billion euros have been invested in Montenegro. a lot of citizens of Turkey opened the company. So we have some more than 3,000 companies which were registered by the Turkish company, by the Turkish citizens in Montenegro. And this is, I think, first of all, because we have one part of the common history. We have very good relations. Then after we joined the NATO, this means that all the investments in Montenegro are secure, and I think that this is very much helping the environment to see Montenegro as a safe environment for the investments. And then are the conditions. Political stability, economic stability, then the roads connection, the sea connection that we have through the port through the port of Bar, then the conditions, the taxation system that we have in Montenegro, which is very favorable and open for investments from different countries, and Turkey, especially Turkey, was on the sixth country by the volume of the investment in Montenegro. We have some important companies, not only Turkish Airlines. We have a Ziraat Bank in Montenegro. We have the Ciali Group operating in Montenegro through the very important steel company in the second biggest city in Montenegro. We have a Gintash and a lot of different companies in different sectors of Montenegrin economy.
Yes, that is very interesting to hear from you that the business volume is quite high. Indeed. With our ILIDA Association, we have been receiving many questions about the Montenegro programs, doing business with Montenegro, how to invest in Montenegro. So maybe after this webinar, we should publish an investment guide for Montenegro for both international and Turkish community. Indeed, there are also some interesting investment programs as far as we realized, and especially for the Turkish investor, that is very interesting because, as you mentioned, Montenegro and Republic of Turkey has very similar cultural background, and Turkish people love your country. So could you briefly explain us these investment programs, if it is possible?
So first of all, I must say that the most important sectors of the Montenegrin economy are tourism, agriculture, and energy sector, and infrastructure as well. I must mention that in the tourism sector, we really have a lot of investments. The main three projects that are built in this moment in the Montenegrin coastline are Porto Montenegro, which is one of the biggest marinas for the big yachts in the Mediterranean Sea. This is from 2015 is owned by the Investment Corporation of Dubai. The second important project which is built in the Montenegrin coast, it's another marina called Porto Novi. Porto Novi will be the one and only resort in Europe, and this is the investment by the Azerbaijani oil company Sokar. And the third important project that we are developing in our coast, it's Lushtica Bay. Lushtica Bay, it's developed by the Egyptian-Swiss consortium. And it's really, if you look at these projects, you will see that actually these are three new cities completely built from the scratch in Montenegro, and which absolutely changed the imaginary about the Montenegrin tourism. Imported marinas which are built and which can host a lot of tourists who are interested in elite tourism. Other projects that we are developing, for example, in the energy sector, Montenegro is becoming an important hub for the energy, because there is a project that we developed and it was inaugurated in November last year. That is the submarine electrical cable which is connecting Montenegro and Italy. This is very important because now Montenegro can export through this cable all electricity to Italy and to other European countries, and really it's becoming an energy hub. I must say that Montenegro didn't use the hydro potential. We are actually using only 17% of our total hydro potential that we have, and so we are doing very much as well in the renewables energy. We are investing a lot of efforts as well there. Then I must mention the important infrastructure project, and that is the highway that Montenegro is building from the south to the north of the country. In this moment, while we are speaking, we are expecting the first kilometers of the highway to be finished, a little bit postponed and delayed because of the situation with the COVID, but the first phase of the highway will soon be finished, and this highway should connect northern and the southern part of the country, as well. The continuation of these projects will go to Serbia and furthermore to Central Europe. So this is another important project. Regarding the program that you mentioned, yes, there is in this moment 3 years lasting project, so-called economic citizenship. This is very important economic program for the foreign investors. So actually, there will be maximum of 2,000 applicants. Citizenships will be granted to the investors who invest. First of all, 100,000 is for the application euros. Then are two different types regarding the geographical position of the projects where investors will be investing. So if you invest in the southern parts of Montenegro, meaning coastline and the capital city of Podgorica, in the projects which are listed on the governmental list, this is meaning that you need to. It will be actually 450,000 euros investment. And if investor invests in the projects which are listed on the governmental list on the northern part of the country, which is less developed in Montenegro, and this is somehow showing as well the tendency of the government to develop the northern and equally and the southern parts of the country. This is for 250 euros. Investment, but we are talking about 3 years project, different projects on the southern and the central part, and different projects of the northern part of the country. We are talking about maximum 2,000 citizenships which will be granted according to all strict safety and security rules. Actually, I can read you, because the official intermediary agents, we are Apex Capital Partners, Arton Group, Henley Partners, Government Services, and actually in the government of Montenegro, the coordination of these projects is led by the Secretariat for Development Projects. And as I mentioned, there is the list of the development projects in different fields. In this moment, there are some lists regarding the tourism sector and agricultural sector.
That is very important to know that there are listed authorized companies by the government and trustable projects. And Montenegro, of course, in the heart of Europe, it's a very attractive country for international community as well as Turkish community, because your tax rates are great. As far as I know, 9% of income tax is incredible opportunity for Turkish businessmen and internationals as well, because in compare with other countries, it seems a very convenient country for the investment. Well, let's talk about the tourism and the must-see destinations for the Montenegro. Considering you are the most competent person to inform us about your recommendations, where we should visit in Montenegro.
I don't know how much time do we have. Montenegro is a small country, but rich really when it comes to the tourism and the culture. So definitely what I will suggest, first of all, when we are talking about the investments, when we are talking about the taxation system, when we are talking about the tourism, I want to share with you and all the people who are participating in this webinar that the doors of this embassy and our general consulate in Istanbul are always open for all inquiries that you may have. After this webinar, when you share actually the list of the participants, we will provide to all the participants one small information called Montenegro Investment and Business Opportunities, where you can find all the necessary information about the investment and in projects which are now being developed in Montenegro. Regarding the tourism, first of all, as I mentioned, Montenegro is Mediterranean, but as well Balkan country. We have two climates, the Mediterranean one on the southern part of the country on the coastline up to the central part of the country capital Podgorica. Then on the northern part, we have the continental climate. Montenegro has 73 kilometers of beaches. Actually 290 kilometers of the coastline. There are more than 117 beaches to visit, some of them very sandy, some of them rocky beaches, so you name it, you find it in Montenegro. Actually, I must mention that Montenegro has 5 national parks. One of them is the oldest one, among the oldest one in the world, because it was declared as a special territory where it was prohibited to doing hunting and cutting trees. Only 6 years after the first national park of Yellowstone was declared as the protected area. We are talking about, this is the national park of Biogradska Gora with the Biogradsko lake, where you can find the trees who are older than 400 years. This is the only fluvial forest in Europe. Then I can speak about Durmitor National Park with the city of Žabljak. More than 18 glacials lakes we have in this national park. One of them is, and the most beautiful one, it's the Black Lake. We are talking now about the northern part of the country. Then you can do rafting in Tara. The Tara Canyon is the second biggest canyon in the world. Actually, the Tara River, it's called the Tear of Europe because it's so clean that you can actually raft and drink water at the same time. Then I would like to mention some cities on our coast. Budva, which is very famous because of its nightlife, I can say, and sandy beaches. Then the longest beach we have, it's in the city of Ulcinj, the city which traditionally has been known as a city, historically as a city of the pirates. The beach, big beach in so-called Velika Plaža, it's long for 13 kilometers of sandy beach. For example, there is Ada Bojana, which is the place where Bojana River is entering the sea near the city of Ulcinj, which is very famous for the kite surfing. Then we cannot not mention the biggest lake in the Balkan Peninsula, which is the Skadar Lake. 2/3 of this lake is in the territory of Montenegro and 1/3 of Albania. Very famous because of the bird watching. This is another our national park. Then there is the only fjord in that part of Europe, and that is Boka Bay, with medieval cities like Kotor, which is the UNESCO under the UNESCO protection as a World Heritage site, and it was declared by Lonely Planet it was the place #1 to visit in 2016. So really Montenegro is really rich with its nature, with its culture. I must mention the royal capital, Cetinje, which has more than 7 museums. Then why not to mention Montenegro? As I said, it's a multicultural country. So you can really sense by traveling in different parts of the country, the influence of the different culture, Ottoman one, Venetian one. So it's really the part where you can find different histories and different cultural heritage, and a lot of destinations that are must see. So I don't think that we have enough time to explain about all must see sites in our country.
Well, of course, the country is small, but the options are infinitive. I mean, whenever I visited your country, I was so impressed with Kotor, for example, Budva, and very, very nice nature. You can see both the green, that's the best part of the country, the green and blue, and the perfect combination of both of them in a very well protective way, let's say, because you are doing very well in terms of protecting the nature as well. So that is the most important thing, to protect sustainable tourism in all over the world. Thank you for the recommendations. And in the meantime, for our participants, please feel free to ask your questions to Q&A section. And I know there are some Italian participants as well. The ambassador speaks almost native Italian, so feel free to write your questions in Italian, English, or Turkish. So we will try to answer your questions. My last question about the political relationship. I mean, Montenegro is the member of NATO and a candidate state for the EU membership. How this situation will affect the investors and the population in the near future for the foreigners doing business in Montenegro or investing in Montenegro?
First of all, I must tell you that from the since we joined the NATO in 2017, which was our primary foreign policy goal which we achieved and managed to achieve, the volume of investments from the NATO member countries increased for more than 50%. This is very important because this means that the investors feel very secure and safe regarding their investments in our country. Yes, you mentioned that we are on the path of joining European Union. As you may know, there are 33 negotiating chapters. Montenegro already opened the negotiation in 32 chapters. We are missing the last one, which we hope that we will open very soon. And we provisionally closed a negotiation in 3 chapters. So we are going now in another phase, meaning that we are continuing to do reforms to achieve all the necessary standards that European Union is requiring for the country which wants to join. This is our first priority in the foreign policy. It's to become the member of the EU. Then another important thing, we are recognized as the country who is completely aligned with the old common foreign policy and security policy of the European Union. We are completely aligned with the European Union on that regard for several years almost. So when we are talking about the European Union and the process of joining European Union, we have never been as a country rushed by the dates. For us, it is very important to do the reforms which will help to increase the quality of life of our citizens, and which will be helpful to boost our economy. Meaning that for us, we are giving the priority to the quality of reforms that we are doing rather than the dates actually when it will happen, when we will officially become the member of the European Union. I think that acquiring these criteria and the standards which European Union has, it's very beneficial to not only for our citizens but as well to the investors, because then there is they are absolutely sure that there is a rule of law, that there is legal security for them and for their investments. And I think that this is the something that and then the opening of the market. In this moment, I didn't mention that Montenegro, through working in Montenegro, gives the possibility of the access to the market of 800 million people. Actually, we have agreement with Turkey, with CEFTA, with EFTA, with European Union. So it's actually beneficial not only for us, our citizens coming closer to the European Union, but as well to the investors, definitely. And I already saw one question. If you don't mind, I will answer it. The first one that I didn't mention, I saw that there was a question of somebody who asked if the Turkish citizens do need a visa to go to Montenegro. No. Turkish citizens can go and stay and transit through Montenegro with ordinary passport up to 90 days without any visa. But in this regard, I must mention something. In this moment, due to the COVID pandemic, Montenegro has set a criteria for the foreigners coming in Montenegro. So coming from the country where there are less than 25 active cases of COVID per 100,000 inhabitants means that you can travel in Montenegro without any restrictions, without self-isolation, without the quarantine or anything else, like we used to travel before the pandemic. Coming from the countries which have more than 25 cases per 100,000 inhabitants is in this moment only allowed to the Montenegrin citizens and to the foreigners who are coming from these countries and they have residence permit in Montenegro, and they need to comply with the rule of 14 days of quarantine or self-isolation. But hopefully Turkey will very soon be on the list of the countries where there are less than 25 cases per 1,000 inhabitants, and very soon, because in this moment I think that Turkey is somewhere between 26 or 27 active cases of COVID per 100,000 inhabitants, and meaning that then the Turkish citizen, the airplane line between Istanbul and Podgorica, which used to be every day, and during the season sometimes even 2 times per day, will be once again re-established, and the Turkish citizens are, as always, welcome to visit Montenegro. I'm so sorry, I don't hear you.
Thank you so much for detailed explanation. It is always a good idea to visit Montenegro, and taking into consideration there is no visa requirement at the moment. That's a great opportunity for the tourism as well. So there is a question, Ambassador, about the health and education system in Montenegro. At the beginning, you explained that you gave a good example with COVID-19, but just briefly, can you inform us about the education and health system of Montenegro?
Yes, definitely. So regarding the health services, it is the same as in Turkey. So all the citizens of Montenegro have access to the health system, which, as I mentioned, especially in this challenging time, demonstrated its all capacities and really the strength of our health system. There will be there are possibilities always to invest. We have both private and public hospitals, and we have very good cooperation in this sense, even with Turkey. So some of the Montenegrin citizens are allowed to come and get some health services in Turkey as well, and the state of Montenegro is covering this for them. Regarding the education system, so we have 9 years of obligatory primary education, and then 4 years of secondary, which is not obligatory educations. There are some private schools, but all the requirements for opening the private schools need to be dealt with the Ministry of Public Instruction. And if somebody needs any specific data regarding these two, investing in health system, we can manage to get put in direct contact the interested person with the authorities in Montenegro in our educational system and in our health system.
That's great to know that you have a very good educational system, as well as healthcare system in Montenegro. The last question is about the master programs. After completion of a master degree in Montenegro, is there any work program? I mean, work permit program for the students who wants to stay more in Montenegro? Do you have any certain information?
So it's after that somebody who is a foreigner finish his master program. It's I don't think that there are any specific programs for people to stay and to work in Montenegro. They can try to find the job with their master degree in private sector. This is definitely possible. Regarding, there are a lot of students because Turkey it's offering scholarship to the countries as well, to Montenegro. So more than 400 Montenegrin students studied in Turkey in their university or their master degrees. But yes, we are open. There are certain programs as well, master programs. We are part of different, like Erasmus program of European Union, which Turkey as well it's the member. So there is definitely possibility for the exchange of the students. But as well as I said, if there is somebody who is interested in some specific topic, the doors of this embassy are always open to clarify something more. And I see that there is another question regarding the degrees. Yes, the degrees from Montenegrin universities are recognized by Turkey, as the Turkish university degrees are recognized in Montenegro. And there is already exchange, but much more in the favor of the Montenegrin citizens, because there are, as I mentioned, a lot of Montenegrins already studying in Turkey.
Okay, thank you so much for this very useful information. It was really our honor to host you and listen from the most competent person in Turkey, the facts of the country, experiences, recommendations. And now we are going to conclude our program. And in the case of any questions, just you can send email to ILIDA or directly to the embassy. As last word, would you like to say something, Ambassador?
I would first of all like to thank you once again to you and to ILIDA for this opportunity. I want to thank to everyone who were listening to this, attending this webinar, to say and once again that the doors of our embassy are always open, that you can write us, just drop one an email on turkey@mfa.gov.me, and we will be very ready to answer all the necessary inquiries that you may give to us. Once again, I want to say that we are very glad and happy to see as soon as possible the tourists from Turkey and different countries coming and visiting and enjoying their stay in Montenegro. Thank you very much.
As last word, as we are dealing so much as practitioner, investment and law, Montenegro is a very convenient country for the investment because they are very good with the regulations, law, very in line with EU regulations, let's say. In terms of security, there is no problem, and with the nature and with the quality of social life, it's providing so good opportunities for both Turkish and international investors. Thank you so much for listening us, participating to our program, and see you in our next event. Thank you, Ambassador.
Just one second more. I see that there is another question, and I will immediately answer it.
Of course.
So, as I said, all foreign investors, I maybe didn't mention that before, are guaranteed equal legal treatment as the local ones. They can acquire rights to real estate, such as a commercial property, office space, residential space, or the land for construction. We have very competitive tax system, and it's very easy to establish the company in Montenegro. You need only a few days, and for certain types of the companies, only €1 of the capital. So it's very easy to do that.
Yes.
And with that, I think that we answer all the questions.
That's correct. In compare with Turkish law, it is much more easy to set up a company in Montenegro, and in compare with other European countries, indeed. As Ambassador mentioned, the initial capital is very low, and the tax rate, as I emphasized, is quite reasonable. So thank you. We are concluding our webinar. See you next time. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much for this opportunity once again. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.